Welcome to Beyond the Frame, Episode 3, a podcast where we dive deeper into the professional lives of an esports creative. I'm your host, Mario Prosperino, co-founder of ESPAT, and we go across the pond today in Sweden and the Netherlands with Steph and Bart to talk about photography and all the cool things about esports. What is going on?
Hey Mario, how are you doing?
Dark.
Great. Steph, how are you?
It's dark outside, but I'm feeling good.
Almost time for dinner. Cool. Let's dive into it. What do you guys miss about esports? It's been a while, right? Walking to an arena, the rush. Steph, let's start with you.
I miss a lot of social aspects in my daily life, but with an esports, it's on another level. The people I meet there, the energy in an arena. I miss everything with esports, but especially the social aspect, definitely.
How about you, Bart?
Yeah, same likewise. And I also miss like the electric sweeter you get into the arena. Once everything kicks off, there's nothing like getting that vibe of like, here we go, showtime.
Cool. Let's start with the journey. Steph, let's start 4 or 5 years ago, how you got started. What was your interest level like? Did you start, just wedding photography? Was it music? Was it gaming, esports? And where you are now?
Yeah, so 4 or 5 years ago, I got my first esports photography gig, which was through DreamHack. And actually, my first gig wasn't really photography. It was for the social media team. But for good social media, I think you need good content. So we worked really closely with the photographers there. And when I was doing this volunteer work, I saw what they were doing and I was like, holy shit, that looks awesome. Like I want to make good content in social media at the same time. So I started getting really inspired by the other volunteers there. And after DreamHack Stockholm, which was my first DreamHack, I went to DreamHack Winter on the photographer team with my like really shitty little Canon Rebel XSI and try to do my best. And even then I was looking at what other people are doing, including Adela. And I was like, I want to do that. How do I do that? What's the technical know-how I need to do that? So I kind of just tried my best to imitate them and see what they were doing and also find my own style. So it really all started with DreamHack for me and continues to be that way.
And where are you now? I mean, how would you basically summarize, what you're known for, which titles you cover?
I'd say my focus is fighting games. So with DreamHack, fighting games were kind of small on the side. CSGO and everything else bigger was for the pros. So I kind of found my niche there. But even then, past that, I found just an interest in fighting game tournaments. So I started to go to them about 2016. My partner played or plays fighting games. So we just kind of did a thing of let's go to all the tournaments we can. You'll play, I'll shoot. We'll just make a thing out of it. And then some of our friends will tag along. So it kind of just became a fun pastime, really.
How
about you, Bart? How did it get all started?
For me, it's a little longer ago. It's about 10 years. I was studying multimedia. I was there to learn design, but I tried a minor called cross media at first. That's where you learn how to handle camera. And as a job, as a student, I had a job to stock shelves in the supermarket. And another guy that did the same had a website, a Dutch website, which posted everything gaming related. And at one point he was like, hey, don't you do like stuff with cameras? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then he said, well, you should come to some events, do some coverage. Let's start this up. So I did that, and the rest is kind of history. It evolved from recording interviews on actual tape. Yes, this is before memory cards, up till the point where we are now. So a lot of memory cards.
Yeah, but you guys have never shot on film, right? I'm going to date myself.
Yeah.
I've shot it for like fun stuff. I wouldn't really go to an event and be like, this is my kit. It would be more for like pastimes. Like I know for Worlds, I bought like a little film camera to cover later on, like after parties and stuff with my friends for memories, which I forgot in my hotel room and I regret now. But just for fun.
Man, you guys, you missed the boat, the 35 millimeter transparencies. And when I got started in the industry, we literally sent a sleeve of slides to a magazine. They would scan it. They would want to ask for the negative because the negative was the original. And if you lost the negative, I think it was like a $2,000 charge on that transparency. And I remember like the .com age of late 90s to transmit 6 to 8 photos from an event was a big deal. And clients were okay with that. Now we're moving hundreds of photographs, right, for social and for editorial distribution. So yeah, we've obviously evolved over the last few years. Steph, let's talk about FGC. Like, what are the big events that you just love walking into? Are there any events you've not covered yet that are on your bucket list?
For the FGC, I don't think there's any event that I don't enjoy going into. Every country, every tournament has its own niche, but it still brings the same type of people. It's a really interesting thing. I always joke with people that my friends within FGC, I never see them in my own home country. I just see them all around the world in every other place. So I don't think there's anyone that I haven't done or anyone that I dislike in particular. Yeah, no, they're all great, and it sounds like super biased, but it's really, as long as you have the right people there, which pretty much always show up to the tournaments, it's going to be a kick-ass event.
Who are some of the players you love covering? Who are the most photogenic players on stage?
Photogenic, I really love John Ding when he's a Tekken player. I'm trying to think. Pokechop, also a Tekken player. There's a lot of Tekken players. Like, they just scream a lot and they don't give a shit, and I love it. Like, any kind of raw emotion is that's what I'm after. So when they pop off and you see that chair flying or controller flying, that's like, I live for that.
What about you, Bart? What are some of the most memorable events you've covered last couple of years?
Katowice is always something special. It's just the vibe in there. The shape of the stadium works really well. It's like rounded, so it's like all the sound comes together in one place. It makes it really go crazy. Also, Polish people they know how to like set the vibe. Anything else? I think ESO Cologne is always a really good one. It's very prestigious. And a fun one to do was Shanghai, but more of the location than the event itself, I would say.
Gotcha. So what's the difference, guys, between walking into an arena as a freelancer versus shooting for a client?
Access.
Great answer.
It's 100% that. Like, I remember one of the times I wasn't on a team. I think it was DreamHack Masters, and I wasn't on the team, and I just was barking internally because I wasn't allowed on the stage. Luckily, I did manage to pull some strings because people knew me there, and I wasn't going to get in the way. So I was able to get on stage for the team I was shooting at the time, which was North. But that made a big deal, kind of access. But it was also fun because it was just, you have to get creative, right? You're not always going to go to an event and people know who you are and you can pull some strings. You just have to try things out. So, yeah.
What do you think?
I think you have to make a lot more decisions. Decisions in the forum as where am I going to be and where can I be and where will I get a shot. When you work for a TO, you're often part of a team as well. That means if you're 3 people, you can put 2 people in the spot where they are guaranteed to get a decent shot, and then you can gamble the 3rd person. But you can never gamble your position if you're working alone. Because if you don't get anything and you get back to the room and your client's going to be like, hey, how did it go? And you're like, yeah, I gambled this spot, but it didn't work out. And then they're going to be like, we don't like that. So I guess it's a mindset difference in how you approach.
I think it's also about like, even as a freelancer, let's say I know a lot of freelancers who are extremely talented and they've never been like on the main team, which is totally fine. Like, the difference is access in that regard, but doesn't mean that you're a better or worse photographer if you're in the team or not. And also the thing is, when you do go to these events, even some people prefer being a freelancer, just knowing the staff there makes a difference, because, the TO is going to see someone and go, oh, okay, I know you're not an asshole, so I'm going to let you have this special angle or whatever it might be.
For sure. And if you look at the history of photography, here in the States with Major League Baseball, you had photographers literally on the field, like just getting just the most memorable moments from the 40s and the 50s. So, as obviously we're all fans of the industry, want to see it grow. Access is obviously like just carries all the weight, right? So we are literally recording history as we speak, thanks to you guys and your peers. So yeah, anytime you could push the envelope and just get those jubilations, the magic moments, the trophy raise, we're literally creating the archive as we speak. And we all can agree that esports is still at a young phase right now. So yeah, let's go out there and be bullish and push the envelope. Bart, tell us more about Team Liquid. What's it like working for Team Liquid? Obviously, it's one of the most renowned organizations.
It's very intense. Prior to going full-time, I've worked with them over the span of about 5 years, freelance on and off project basis. So I've known their organization for a bit, so it was easier for me to like slide in and get going. Um, it's like you said, it's a very prestigious org, but that also means that there's little room to make mistakes on the outside. At least within the team, it's fine. Like everybody makes mistakes, or there's things to learn. But on the outside, everything has to be more or less perfect, because if a very small org puts out a graphic and it's not perfect, nobody's going to really bat an eye. But if Team Liquid or any other like major org puts out something that's subpar, people are going to retweet it. It's going to be on Reddit. It's going to be all over the place. So the pressure is a little bit high. At least to me, it feels like that. But I'm also a little bit of a perfectionist, I guess. So it's also really rewarding because a lot of eyeballs on your stuff. So it's high risk, high reward, I would say.
Sure. So you're embedded within One Up Studios, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I'm responsible for the European part of One Up Studios.
Gotcha. Do you see that being a trend moving forward within orgs, actually building and branding a studio?
Yes and no. It takes money to do something like this. Not everybody has that yet, but at least maybe not at the scale of One Up Studio. One Up Studio is fairly big, but like having 2 or 3 people in-house is probably the way to go, yes. It's more convenient for the players and the people you work with, so they don't have to deal with other people all the time. It makes easier communication. I think One Up Studios is a little bit bigger. We also work for partners and other clients.
Steph, what about you on the brand side? You've shot for brands such like Red Bull, right? Tell us how that's going.
I love Red Bull. They're super fun to shoot with. I don't think there's very few clients I don't like, and obviously I wouldn't call them out here and now. Like, it is what it is, but there's very few. Like Red Bull are some of my favorites. I really like working with Fnatic. I mean, G2. Everyone is just they're super fun, and they all. It's fun is like they also want to work with you. It's definitely a two-way street. It's very rarely, at least for me, that I reach out and I'm like, hey guys, check out my portfolio. It's word of mouth is so important within esports. So people know someone who knows someone, etc. And I mean, I've even been contacted to do videography work when I've done photography for some teams, which I unfortunately am not. I don't feel like I'm talented enough to try that right now or charge anyone for it. But it's super important, and it's super fun to just make contacts.
Yeah, it's great when you see that tweet from a social media manager or a PR rep on a team side, an org side. I need a photographer for event XYZ, and you just see a slew of comments. And I've always said that, you know, there's a bevy of talent in Europe, North America, that like it's not that hard to really find talent if you're an organization. And now you're starting to see a trend, I think, within this window of the pandemic where freelancers are starting to go full time because they do want that security. Let's talk about that. You know, Bart, so you have security, more of a quintessential freelancer. Is it basically just everybody's prerogative as far as which direction they choose to go?
For me, it was a decision for sure. Even though I was a freelancer, I think I was doing fairly decent, so I didn't feel like I had a lot on security. I think it's also important that you diversify your portfolio, even within esports, but also outside of esports. For example, if you only do events and you get this thing called Corona or anything else, then you're in a tough spot, right? So it's smart to like maybe do 80% esports and 20% something else, like portraits or whatever. That way you always have something to pay your rent. And for me, the move to Team Liquid started before Corona, and it's more of a decision of me personally moving forward as a professional. But I cannot lie if I will lie if I would say it's not really convenient right now. That's very true.
Steph, what about you?
For me, I'd say that, I mean, all my esports career or esports photography career, I've always had a full-time job on the side. I work within marketing. I have a background in marketing. What I've been doing then is all my jobs wiggled my way to have a lot of remote work and a lot of flexible hours. I make do. My photography is very much a priority. And I don't say that, but I managed to step up in my day job so that they allow me, they trust me to be able to work remotely or abroad or whatever. So it's kind of a balance. And I mean, maybe one day doing esports photography would be a thing. For example, I was planning on doing it full-time freelance this year if it wasn't for COVID. But luckily, I do have my marketing background to fall back on. But it's also a good thing. Like, I feel like having that background has helped me a lot when working with clients, because I get the social media manager's language. I get their problems. I get what they would want, and I can put myself in their shoes. So it's yeah, I'm like a slinky. I just kind of like float around, make it work. I always land on my slinky, whatever they do.
It's very, very important. Let's talk about the network, the community. Who are you guys big fans of? They're going to be watching. You know, who are you guys very friendly with? What's it like? You know, we obviously took a big hit these last 9 months, and nobody's traveling, nobody's really meeting up for drinks and having, you know, sushi together. What's it like? Is it really a family atmosphere for both of you when it comes to your peers?
I would say yes. Yeah, for sure. It's a small world, and if you go to all the events or a majority of them, you keep running into people. Maybe not every event, but every other 2 events, you run into the same person. And during work, it's work hard. You don't have much time to hang out with each other. But I mean, once the tournament's over or in between game days, we may have drank a couple of bottles of wine in a hotel lobby here and there. Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Who are you big fans of, Bart?
I like this lady called Stephanie Lindgren. She's okay. She's cool to hang out with. I'm very close with Adela Snyder and Helena Christiansson. I worked many events with them abroad on the ESL team. They're a big inspiration for me from a work perspective, but they're also really good people, like genuinely good people. And I think this is something that people should take away from this podcast, is that it's one thing to be good at your job. It's another thing to get re-invited every time, again and again and again. And you have to be good. Yes, you also have to be nice to work with and be fun to hang out with. Maybe not hang out, but have around, because it's going to be 14 hours a day, 7 days in a row. It's going to be exhausting. And on day 7, you're going to get cranky. And if you're not aligned well, it's going to be a rough last day. And that's fine for one event or 2. But if you do 10 or 15 a year with the same people, yeah, make sure you're a nice person.
Steph, who's in your tribe?
I love everyone. Bart's cool, I guess. No, but it's like, no, but really, when I go to like Katowice and I walk into a room and I see Bart and I see Helena and I see Adela, I know we're gonna have a good time. I know me and Bart are gonna like just say stupid stuff and make bad puns and whatever. Same when I go to like a lot of the events in the States and I go there and I see Robert Paul and I see Lee and I see Erica and Mandalay Bay. He knows what I'm and even like Esteban Martinez, and we just and Carlton Biener, of course, the coffee master. It's just a clique. It's just a group of people. We all get along. We all like to.
We can't forget about Zhao either. He's cool too.
No, exactly. We all like to get together and bully Thomas Tissio when we're at FGC events because it's really fun. But we all have like our archetypes, but in the end, we're all friends, and it's just fun to talk trash. And that's the thing. Like I get excited to go to events not just to shoot, but to see my friends again and just have a good time. It means a lot.
And what I see on Twitter as well is that genuinely you guys really root for each other. And I think it's genuine. And so there's a competitive landscape, but there's also the friendship landscape. So you literally may be vying for the same job, the same TO opportunity, the same org, but yet there's embedded relationships, but yet you are competing with each other.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to say that. I was going to say, like, one of the memories I remember of that was when Worlds last year in the finals, and it was me, Adela, Joao, Eric, and then some video people. Sorry, I only remember a few of them right now. But we were sitting there, and we were all going through our trophy shots, and it was so funny that we were all sitting there going, God, my shot sucks. Oh, I'm so bad. This is horrible. Like, I'm gonna get fired. No one's gonna pay for this. But like, we were all shitting on ourselves so much. But then we would peek over and be like, "That's amazing. What are you talking about?" We were all so self-deprecating, but we supported each other so much, and it was just really funny how miserable everyone was together.
So is that pretty accurate, Bart?
It's very accurate, and like from a business standpoint, like yes, we fight for the same jobs, but you should ask yourself the question: does it really give me a better position if I'm not nice to other people? It's not going to change anything. Like, I'm responsible for my work and my work ethic and the quality I put out, and my work doesn't get better if I look down on Steph's work or whoever's work, right? It's just me and my work. And if you're nice to people, like I said, it's only going to help out like later on in time. Like, if Steph has like 2 jobs, she can only take 1, maybe she'll ask me because I'm nice to her. It probably works for the better. So yeah, I don't see the point in like being jealous of each other. And I generally hope people have success, and I'm sure I'll be successful as well. That's just up to me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's shift gears to the Esports Awards. It's November, which means trophies and awards and acknowledgement. Steph, you won last year, the 2019 Esports Photographer of the Year. So what was that like? You were nominated years prior, correct?
Yes.
All right. So what was your first reaction? What does it really mean to you to get that accolade?
My first reaction was, why is the stream over? They didn't know. It was, why is the stream over? They started with videographer. They didn't mention photographer. What's happening? That was my first thought. So I was kind of like, what the hell? And then I saw the tweet and I was like, cool.
Okay, so you found out through Twitter first?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was up until like 5 a.m. And then I remember waking up my partner and he's like, did you win yet? And I was like, yeah, and I found out through Twitter. Like,
and then the mentions started blowing up, and and that was that.
Yeah, and I mean that was cool, but I also, like, for me, like, winning is cool, right? But for me, the important part was actually the video that I went out to make with a friend of mine.
Yep.
And that was important to me because a lot of people look down on the fighting game community. They don't know it. They just think fighting game Smash, or they think of like all the hoodlum stuff, all the hood rat stuff, whatever, which is baloney. And I wanted to show them what it was. That was in my video. That's why I had examples of some of my favorite shots from these events. So it meant more to me to show my community than it did for me to win. And then I didn't get to do that, but it'd be like that.
Now, have you had any challenges just being a female? Is it a boys club, or, I mean, like we talked about it a couple minutes ago, but there's a lot of females that are just like top notch. You mentioned Helena, Adela. There's a good number out there. So it's an even playing field at this point, correct?
Yeah, I'd say there's definitely more males than females, but I don't really notice. I've like always been kind of a tomboy, and I just chill. Like, I don't really notice anything in particular, really, unless it's like body odor. Bart, you're fine. Don't worry.
Guys can be meatheads, I mean, I got a daughter. I love girls. They're more sympathetic. They're more great listeners. Guys are just really bad listeners. I'm just gonna be very.
I'd say that one thing as a female, I guess, is you, when you are somewhere that's unfamiliar, you just kind of have to have like this aura that radiates, don't fuck with me. Luckily, I don't have to do it that often, but I do make sure with like body language to show like I'm here, this is my space, etc. But I haven't really had any issues or anything like that. No one's been weird. No one's made any comments. Yeah, no biggie.
Good stuff. Bart, talk to me more about the business of what you guys do, intellectual property, knowing what you're worth, kind of growing your career. Have you kind of grown into it? Did you kind of come in with a lot of knowledge, you think, or is it kind of like a work in progress?
For me, it was very much a work in progress. As I said earlier, I started when I was a student. So for me, I learned by doing and by making mistakes every now and then. Nothing too major, but like I was about 18, 19, so I didn't have much business experience. And when people start hearing you do photography or video, at one point they're going to be like, hey, I have this store, or I have this small festival, and we want to have an after movie, or we want some pictures. that's when the ball gets starts rolling, and you take it from there. And in the beginning, you really don't have an idea. Even if you might feel like you do, like when you're that age, you feel like you can handle the world, but you really don't. So you charge whatever you earn at your grocery store job, which is like, I don't know, €6 an hour. And then later on, you'll learn very fast that you can never buy any equipment for that money. There's no retirement money in there, nothing. So you start doing some research on how much you really have to earn. And luckily, I grew up with the internet, and there's a lot of information on there. So you take it from there. You try to find a way to upsell yourself a little bit. And I think it's hardly ever like an on or off thing. Like you have to grow into it. Your product grows, and you grow with it, and you have to become smart about it as well.
Speaking of business, what have you learned with the collaboration with Marvel?
Oh. Corporate is very interesting. Yeah, it's a whole different level from anything else when you get to that point. There's so many people involved. If you do like a job for a store around the corner, or even like a 50 people company, you probably deal with 1 or 2 people and 1 or 2 opinions, right? And if I have a good idea, I can probably convince you and Stephanie. But if there's 20 people in the same email or in the same call, I have to convince a lot more people, and there's always a couple in there that have questions that are very good questions, but you have to deal with all of them. So it's like it can be pretty daunting on getting things done, really. And also, like, the stakes are really high because you're talking about so much money, and the productions are so expensive that you cannot just say like, hey, let's shoot for 5 days, because people are going to ask, hey, why do we have 5 production days? This is going to cost us like thousands and thousands and thousands a day. They're going to want 4 days. And then you're going to have to be like, okay, well, we really need it because this and that. So yeah, a lot more thinking is what I learned from it. Like, be prepared and expect the worst. Ask yourself the same questions, like, what would I ask if somebody pitches this to me, right?
Yep.
Like, where's the room to make changes? Because they're gonna ask that question, and they're nice people, but they will ask the question, like the hurting questions. Maybe, I don't know how to phrase that, but they're not ashamed to ask you, like,
there's a lot at stake. That's for certain. You know, so they're putting their marketing dollars against the Team Liquid brand. The IP of the players, obviously, whether it's a Red Bull or Marvel, there's a lot at stake. What do you know about the actual collaboration? What is it about Team Liquid, do you think, why they wanted to get started with you guys in the first place?
I think it's because Team Liquid is very true to itself. It's a very large organization, but it still feels very humble to me. At least feel free to disagree, but it's still nerdy people working there. We enjoy Marvel movies. We enjoy still playing games. We have a game day in the office every other month where there's no meetings, and we play the games. We talk about them, about all the nerdy stuff. It's still the same people who started 20 years ago from a bedroom are still there, and that's, I think, why Team Liquid has such a good connection with the audience, and that's what marketing companies want, right? We have the connection with the people. People think Team Liquid is cool for reasons because they can recognize themselves in the brand and the content we put out. And that's something a big organization wants, because they don't have the connection, and that's why they reach out to partners. So you have to offer them something they don't have or they would like to have. And I think that's the connection with the people, by staying true to the esports/gaming/nerd culture world.
Steph, talk to me more about social media, your background, and how much of an influence you have with your clients when it comes to concepts, production, and also repurposing of your assets.
So with my background, like I said, I worked a lot within digital marketing, a lot within social media. I've been like programmatic, I've done print, like everything within marketing. I really like social media the most because you get to build a connection with people. There's a lot at stake. You have to make your communication right, but I've always been interested in the psychology of what makes a brand functional and what doesn't. So hearing Bart talk about Liquid in this context, I was kind of just geeking out, hearing like, yes, they're doing everything right. I love that stuff. And how it helps me with my clients is a lot of them don't know actually that I work within marketing, so they're kind of surprised. But then at that point, I'm just like, yeah, that's why I figured you want this kind of shot, or if you want this horizontal or vertical, or you need this much space to put in a logo here. And I think it really has given me an advantage of knowing how to pitch myself to clients, because I know from my end what would I want to hear if I'm hiring a photographer or videographer or graphic designer or any kind of creative work. So.
What did you guys think of LA Thieves coming back into the Call of Duty scene?
I love their hoodies. I was like, I want that hoodie. Like, I'm a known hoodie fanatic, but those hoodies looked really nice, and they've also been really impressive with it. Just like they just keep doing stuff, and
Yeah.
they keep reinventing themselves and doing more, and it's just it's a really fascinating journey, really.
Yeah, it's such a strong brand, and even though a lot of people didn't see it coming like long term because at first they didn't enter it. It's interesting how they're okay with saying like, hey, we kind of changed our mind, or we had an opportunity, and they go for it. And I think that is also really fitting to the people that are a fan of 100 Thieves. It's young people like going for it, entrepreneurial, the sky's the limit, and it kind of shows they're also just doing who they are. Like,
I think they're leading like a good example, like you said, Bart, that they are players themselves, etc. And then they're like, we're gonna do our own stuff. This is how we would have liked to do it back in our day, and it's super inspiring for the entrepreneurial youth or content creators or anything like that that want to take it a step further. And I think it's also important to keep in mind that just because you're a pro gamer, once your career is over, whatever, what are you gonna do next? And this shows the potential of what next could be.
What do you guys think about the unveil, the video?
It's great. Yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah.
How Bart, when you think of concepts, storyboard, how far in advance you think they go back to literally create that video?
Oh, it's really hard to tell how other people work. To me, it looked like the video definitely had preparation in script, storyboard, the whole thought behind it, like with Nate's shot and how he would like go through the situation that worked really well. But it could be just a shower, I thought, right? Even though it's like a really good idea, somebody could have like taken a shower and like, this is it. And then he ran to the office and did it. But it could also be the opposite, like 10 people on a table brainstorming, making drawings, whatever. So it's really hard. Like a good idea or a big idea is not always a lot of thought, and a small one is not always easy. So it's hard for me to tell like how far it went back. But I'm pretty sure they put some thought in it because it's a big announcement, right? You don't just randomly do anything. Even if it's a random thought, you double check before putting it into place. At least that's how I think people are doing it.
Yeah,
I think they do such a good job too, because a lot of their videos that I've seen, it kind of feels like they just pick up the camera and they're like, let's go, let's do this thing. And it seems super organic, which is impressive. So if it's scripted organic, bravo. If it's just organic, also bravo. It's just, it's fun to see people do things differently and make it look so natural. It doesn't have to be suit and tie, dramatic music. They are just themselves.
Yeah, what's cool about esports with the orgs is that the CEO, the founders are part of the script. They're part of the story. We saw Nade playing Call of Duty as a young kid, and the story of Nadeshot is just tremendous. And whether it's Nadeshot or Hector or anybody else, like they are front and center. They are the face of the organization. So they're young, they're savvy, they're digital, and they really are front and center for their brand, which is a really cool. Versus traditional sports is just could be a billionaire in his 70s who just has a lot of money, owns a team, but you're not really a fan of that individual. You're a fan of the jersey, of the team, what they do on the field or the court. But with esports, it's just a really cool, young and phenomenal environment to be around. Steph, let's go back to you. Your rapport with certain players, can you describe that a little bit more? Like, are there certain players that once you get to the arena, you just have a really cool rapport with? Do you strive to have rapport, or is that something where it's just kind of natural?
I try my best to actually not be seen. The all black is not only just to not be noticed on camera, but also not to be noticed by people around me. And the reason for that is I want them to be as natural as possible. So when I see them go on stage and they're going to start playing, it's tough sometimes if I do know the person personally, like if we're friends or if they've been on the same team as my partner or whatever. I try to not exist because I want to capture them in that moment. But then afterwards, like if they win, of course, I'm going to behind the scenes give them like a high five or something, because I also don't want opponents to think I'm biased in any way or that I'm trying to sabotage anything by interfering or being in the way or whatever. So it's a fine line, but I try not to exist until after the event.
And of course, hey, new profile pic, like hook me up, right?
Yeah, that happens. Or like new profile pic, or new Tinder, or new LinkedIn, or I've even recently actually people have hit me up to get photos to send to sponsors because they want to make like a pitch deck or something, which I think that's super cool. And like I'll always say yes to that, but I always appreciate people asking permission before anything, even if it's a simple request.
Sharing is caring, but asking is nice.
Yes.
Let's all be respectful. Bart, what about you? Your rapport with the players.
I think my rapport with the players is pretty good. I'm also very quiet. I don't really talk to them during events, or at least not in between games or whatever. I feel like that's kind of off place. Like, but I've seen other people do it really smoothly. Like some people are just genuinely friends with them, and it would also be weird to be like ignoring them, right? So I have a couple players I probably talk to, but during the event, I don't really hang out with them much. I'm not 100% sure why, but I think that's just me, really. I just dive into my work, and that's what I focus on. I'm not there to make friends. It's not just players either. Even like other people, I'm really not there to be friends. I'm being nice, but I don't spend time on like trying to socialize when I could be putting out 10 more pictures.
I feel like it happens in reverse for me. It's like in a lot of cases, I've taken a photo of someone. It's a good photo. I tweet it, and they're like, "You're the one that took that photo of me. Thank you so much." And then I meet them in the opposite way, which is really funny. And it's always nice when people give you compliments, of course. So it's one of those. And as well as Bart, I don't talk to people when they're about to play or anything like that. I try not to exist. I don't want to disturb the environment. And then afterwards, if we see each other at a party, then that's different.
Yeah, I agree. I had a player come into the office a while ago, and I did some pictures on him, and he was like, "Did we work earlier before?" And I was like, "I've been at least at least 10 events you've been as well." And he's like, "Oh, okay." So like, some people will know your face, other people they don't. The players are just there to play. They don't want distractions.
I'm Beanie Girl, so that's my trademark. I'm Beanie Girl, always wearing a hoodie. So,
where's the cat, Steph, or the cat? How many do you have?
Where is he? I don't know. I think he's somewhere else. He's chilling. He might say hi later.
All right. Cool. What are some of the pet peeves in our industry, whether it's Twitter, social media, or fellow photographers? Like, what are some of the things that really get under your skin? Without naming names.
People, okay, I have a few. People not respecting the space of the main photographers. So if the TO, or if I tell you to not be on stage, you stay off that stage, because I will remove your badge or someone else will.
Sure.
Aside from that, I also have a pet peeve of, depending on your relationship with the TO and the organization, etc., people who prioritize their own clout over delivering to the client. So people are thinking, "Oh, I'm just going to take some photos of my friends," and they over deliver to their friends, and then the client gets the scraps, and that's tarnishes the relationship, and then that also gives a wrong image to the client. Like, oh, are all the photographers this way? Are they all gonna, go ahead and think that this is a social club instead of an actual job?
Yep.
So those are water bottles. Water bottles are actually the worst of all time, because they can ruin a shot that has been so great. But those are my three I can think off the top of my head.
I could probably add one or two. I think it's really annoying when the whole crew doesn't work together. For example, my pictures only look so good if the light is so good, or if the stage is so nice. So when people don't work together on that, you'll never get to the highest quality. Like, the stage will not look as nice in my pictures. My pictures will not look as nice because of the stage. And I know it takes a lot of effort, but if people don't work together on that, that really gets to me. I'm like, why? Come on, guys. We all want the best, and people don't put it in there. I agree with Steph on going places where you're not supposed to go. I saw the second podcast, and I don't remember the name, but he said like when his team won, he went onto stage, and I totally get that. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I would say do it once in your career and make sure it counts, because if you do it twice, somebody's gonna get pissed off with it, and you're taking the odds of not getting to any events anymore. So it's I guess I'm on the opposite side of the team. Like, you got to take your chances for sure, and you got to push the boundaries, but make sure you don't overstep them too much, because it is a small world, right? If you get banned at one TO, even if it's a dumb reason you don't agree, then it's very likely you will not get into the others as well.
Mm-hmm.
I went to one event where I was told that the guy, the TO, because I was shooting for a team, was notorious for tackling people off stage. Like, he was like an ex-Marine or something, and he would do that. And I was like, I'm not risking that, because one, I don't want to get banned. Two, I don't want to break any bones. Three, most importantly, I don't want to break my equipment.
Yeah. What? Tell me the difference. Is there a style difference between photographers here in the States versus out in Europe? Whether it's just, their hustle or just their style of photography. Do you see a difference, or is it pretty consistent across the board?
I know that rates are higher in the States, but because there's a lot more to think about for freelancers, like healthcare and car insurance and like all this stuff that we don't really have in Europe. That's a difference. So there's like a bigger grind in that regard. I'd say, I don't know. I have a feeling, Kirk, I don't know if you feel the same, Bart, that in the States it's kind of more aggressive when you are going for clients. It's more cutthroat. While in Europe, it's way more like, hey, I can't do this gig. Here's this person instead. Like, we all just want the best for each other. But this is also my perspective. Being in Europe, I don't know how the States is, but that's the vibe I get, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's also a lot more networking and socializing involved, like on events and in between events, which is nice because you get to speak to people. I think at least me and most people I work with are very chill. They just show up, do their work, and get out, and hopefully they get noticed. It's one's not better than the other. It's just a different approach. I think that's something I noticed. And regarding to specific styles, not much. I think it's more a person-specific thing. Yeah. I remember Eric said on the first podcast that me and maybe Adela or whatever had a very natural style. I think I can shoot pretty much anything, I believe so. But the reason people recognize me for my neutral style is because I've done a lot for TOs in the past, and that means that you have to deliver pictures to many, many, many partners. And if you have a very specific style or look to it, it might be good for company A, but it might not fit company B, and then company B is going to not be happy, and company A is. So if you're meet somewhere in the middle, which is almost always neutral, they can both take it and turn it into whatever they want. I guess that's a difference. I think there's a lot of TO shooters that are from Europe somehow. I guess it makes sense because Blast and ESL are based in Europe.
Yeah,
maybe that's DreamHack, etc. And then in the States, it's kind of more rogue or like Wild West.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I always look at Zhao, somebody that you guys were close with. Like he literally takes you into the arena, from that perspective. So when I see his photographs come in, it really feels like you're there. I know it sounds kind of hokey sometimes when you say that, but he has that very strong editorial background where he really just gets the impact, the intensity of the fans. Speaking of fans, which arenas, which events really bring it as far as the energy of the fan base? As far as you guys could chime in on that.
ESL Cologne is more like a party. People just hang out, drink beer, they go wild. They cheer for Team A on Saturday, and then their team loses, and then they just pick a new team and they get more beer and have more party, make friends. It's more of a festival vibe.
Yep.
And I feel like not a specific location, but in Asia, people go absolutely wild for their idol or their team. If they see that person, they go like, there is like nothing stopping them. I think that's the difference for me. And Katowice, like I said, it's always special. Like, it's always full. They always show up. They always turn up. They cheer. They're loud. Yeah, it's an energetic.
I'd say for me, I caught up on a word that you used, which was like a festival vibe. And
Mhm.
I think that is what I associate with a lot of the FGC events. I A lot of them have 24-hour arcades, or you can go there and play all night. Like there's casuals, etc. So it never really turns off just because the tournament is off or whatever, depending on the day. So having that always on vibe makes it so much different than just like the stale tournament where people go to look at something and then they leave. So the festivity aspect of it makes it super fun. So with FGC, that's pretty much all the events. But Combo Breaker for sure is one that stands out. CEO. Evo is his own like giant thing as well. And then within Europe, you have like the mix up. I mean, if I go on, I'm just going to name all the EFGC tournaments because most of them strive to have this casual 24-hour casual environment. But the festivity, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, that's great. You guys have a favorite city around the world that you just one city that you just can get a ticket right now, hop on a plane. Where are you going?
Tokyo.
Whoa, that's a fast answer too.
I love Japan. Also Amsterdam, but I need to go to Utrecht for sure. Those are the two I think for sure.
This is a hard question for me.
You could say New York too. I mean, we have a lot going on. It's a little
New York
different.
is pretty awesome. I must say, I do like New York.
Yeah, I went there once for an event, and it was pretty nice. It was, for me, it was more like a checklist. Like as a European, you gotta, when you go to New York, it's like this is where the movies happen. Like this is it. Yeah. So that yeah, New York was pretty special for sure. For myself, I'm not sure if I could pick one city. That's hard.
Stockholm.
If I could bring some stuff, okay, I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna say Jönköping because this is where everything started. Jönköping is the city. I guess you can call it a city. It's a small city in Sweden where DreamHack Summer and Winter happens, and this event has been going on forever, and it played such a important role in esports development because it started like in the dark hall, just people bringing computers, then esports started growing, and then it made like a tiny little stage, and it got bigger, and then StarCraft came, and StarCraft was really big in there, and then it blew up. So for me, if I go back to Jönköping, I go back to my first international event and to the start of esports. I'll just soak it up. I'll do that.
That was so beautiful. That was so much better than my Tokyo one because I'm just a big weeb. So
Tokyo sounds cool. I've never been there.
Tokyo, yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So before we wrap up, if you've been watching the other episodes, I always like to know 3 dinner guests. It could be anybody, famous celebrity, somebody you're close with, a peer. Who's sitting at the table, Steph?
I would say Hunter S. Thompson, Robert Downey Jr., and Anthony Bourdain.
Interesting. Okay.
We would have a lot of fun.
What was it about Anthony Bourdain that you liked?
What didn't I like? He was. I loved his humor, his just openness to food, and his laid back style and his humor. And he was just such a raw person. I was really sad when he passed away, and he just seemed like so much fun. And I feel when he passed away, I felt like I lost a friend that I never met.
Interesting. Yeah. How about you, Bart?
Interesting question. I thought about this one because I saw it in the other episode. So I have a cliche answer, but I might do it sometime. I would invite a homeless guy I would find anywhere in the street, and then I would invite a very rich guy. A guy 2 streets from me has a Lamborghini, so I'll probably find his house and ask. I would invite them both at the table and I join. And then I hope they could learn or help each other out a little bit more. Like they meet somewhere in the middle. So he gets a job or advice, and the other guy realizes money's and everything. That seems like a very, very cool experiment to me. It might totally not work. Maybe they don't have anything to say to each other, but at least we get the food, I guess.
No, that's beautiful, man. I listen. I know I'm addicted to kindness myself. I grew up in an immigrant household, so I've seen my dad do favors upon favors. I just think that's the only way to live, really. And you know, I think it's infectious. Number one, number two, it makes you feel really good. Now you could also, you know, you shouldn't be a pushover either, right? So you should obviously hold your ground and take shit from nobody. But I just think it's good for the soul, and that's a great way of putting it, Bart. You know, just making the world a better place, you know, where we've been through a lot, the entire globe, since March, and I think we could all do better. And let's all root for each other. Let's continue to strive for greatness, and really just let's get back at it. Let's get back to work. How does that sound?
Sure. Can I add one question to this?
Yeah, sure.
What would you guys order during this dinner?
Great question. Yeah, Steph, what are we ordering? Are we cooking or are we doing takeout?
Either we let Anthony cook or we're doing different takeout depending on. I think it would be like a tapas style of everything, because I would just want to sit there, chat with them, and hear their feedback of different cuisine from around the world. And Anthony probably has some cool trivia about every dish. So it'd be a little bit of everything.
Is there a cuisine that you guys are like, that's like your money cuisine, like this, you just have to get it?
I spend a lot of money on a special type of sushi called otoro. It's the fatty part of the tuna. I can spend a lot of money on that. So, and steak.
All right, let's get back to esports, because Steph has expensive taste.
Yeah, exactly. Got to raise those rates to afford my otoro addiction.
What's your go-to cuisine, Bart?
I'm all over the place. I like meaty dishes. My dad was a butcher, so I kind of inherited that. And I like to do it myself, actually. I think it really helps if you know where everything comes from and how it works. I'm not a vegetarian, so I'm not a perfect person, but I feel like if you know where it's actually coming from and that it doesn't come from a plastic wrapping, that kind of counts somewhere. So I'm going to go easy with spicy spare ribs. Well,
listen, that's great. Hopefully you guys...
The national dish of the Netherlands, spicy. Okay.
So the next time you guys hook up at an event, Steph will pick up the tab. Right, Steph?
I got you.
All right, cool. Listen, I really appreciate you guys jumping on. I'm big fans of your work. I watch you guys from afar. I'm on your Twitter, so don't put up any stupid shit. I'm like a whole cat stuff is good. Just be professional. Where is he? He's around somewhere. Let's see the cat.
Guest appearance.
Put the headset.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
So cute.
He's a legend.
Sorry,
right.
So we will do this sometime soon. I would love to do this, actually, maybe you guys with a venue as a backdrop. That means we're back to work. That means things are going good. Stay healthy, stay safe, and thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mario. See you in New York.
All right, great.